Hi, I'm Hazel, and this is a look at the new Spec Legendaries coming to melee damage specs in 7.2.5. Each melee DPS is getting their own spec-focused legendary to bolster their resolve as they swing wildly at demons and stuff. On top of the Spec Legendaries, there's new rings for each class too, which I'll cover in their own video. Some of these new legendaries will be fiercely sought after, while others will probably get groaned at when they drop. Let's take a look. Frost Death Knights can get Cold Heart, a crit mastery chestplate. Every second, you gain a stack of Cold Heart to buff your next Chains of Ice, stacking up to 30 times. If you have 30 stacks when you use Chains of Ice, the target will be stunned for 5 seconds. That's pretty cool, but as it stands, that's a straight up utility legendary and a pretty situational one at that. Unholy DKs can collect Death Screamers, a pair of haste mastery gloves. They cause your Festering Strike to summon a Risen Skulker to aid you in battle for a very specific 22 seconds. This can only happen once a minute, so you get an extra pal for a little more than a third of the time. Havoc Demon Hunters get Chaos Theory, a haste crit cloak. While wearing it, your Blade Dance will have a 15% chance to grant you Chaos Blades for 6 seconds. That's a pretty big proc that doesn't last super long. This is one of those RNG legendaries where you can get stupidly lucky, proc all fight, and get an insane parse, but for the most part, it's middle of the pack. Feral Druids can seek out a Behemoth Headdress, which is a haste mastery helmet. It causes the duration of your Tiger's Fury to be increased by a little less than half a second per combo point spent. If that's enough time to get off one last buffed bleed, that might parse out okay. If it's tuned properly, this should be a bit of a skill legendary that alters the playstyle for kiddies looking for a challenge. Survival hunters might find an unseen predator's cloak, although I don't know how they're gonna find it if they can't see it. This mastery haste cloak gives you 10% increased crit chance against enemies with your explosive trap dot on them. With perfect play, you can get about 30% uptime on that dot. This one might fit better in a cleave set than single target. Windwalker Monks can look for the Wind Blows, which seems kind of obvious. Your Strike of the Windlord will have a 20% reduced cooldown and make your next blackout kick free. That brings it down to a 32-second cooldown from 40. That's straightforward enough that I'm sure the math-inclined monks have already parsed this out and either wishlisted or trashed it by now. Rat Paladins get Scarlet Inquisitor's Expurgation. I feel like they're really scraping the barrel for paladin-y words at this point. It's a haste mastery chestplate that gives you a stacking buff to Divine Storm. You get 10% increased damage, stacking up to 30 times for a maximum 300% buffed storm twice a minute. Like the survival cloak, this one is more likely to find a home in a cleave set than anything else. Assassination Rogues can seek out the Empty Crown. It's a mastery crit helmet that causes your Kingsbane to generate 50 energy over 5 seconds. I'm not a rogue expert, but that seems like it could be pretty strong. More energy to work with while you're buffing up your Kingsbane dot has to be nice. It's also one of my picks for coolest new legendary because of the ongoing theme in the flavor text, name, and effect. Subtlety Rogues can find the First of the Dead. That's a pair of haste mastery hands, which makes me think that it could have just as easily been Fist of the Dead. Your Symbols of Death will grant 30 energy and buff your damage by 10% for 8 seconds. The 30-second cooldown on Symbols makes that a pretty decent uptime. First of the Dead should be a solid damage legendary. I don't know if it's top tier, but at the very least it shouldn't be a huge disappointment. Outlaw Rogues get the Curse of Restlessness, a crit mastery cloak. Your Restless Blades will reduce the cooldown of Curse of the Dreadblades by a quarter second per combo point spent. The flavor text on this one is delightfully to the point. We get restless easily, we need something to do. I feel ya, spooky pirate ghosts, I feel ya. Enhancement Shamans can seek out the Primal Ascendant Stormcallers, a pair of mastery haste shoulders. They give your Rockbiter a 10% chance to grant you Ascendance for 10 seconds. Whether or not that maths out to be good, it sounds kind of fun to get little mini ascends throughout a fight. Arms Warriors can get the Great Storm's Eye, a haste mastery helmet. Your Bladestorm or Ravager will increase your movement speed and damage for 6 seconds, increasing periodically and stacking up to 6 times. What it doesn't specify is what that period is. Presumably, at the end of your Bladestorm, you're sprinting around 60% faster, smacking things for 24% extra damage, which sounds fun, if not super amazing damage-wise. Fury Warriors can find the Valarjar Berserkers, a pair of haste crit pants. While wearing them, your Rampage crits will generate you 6 rage. That's a very simple effect that's easily mathed out, and I imagine that it's somewhat competitive with the other legendaries. If it's not, that's just a waste of some perfectly good pants. So those are the new spec-specific melee DPS legendaries coming to WoW in 7.2.5. I'll be covering the new legendaries for healers, tanks, and ranged, as well as the new class rings in more videos. Let me know what you think, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.